show.
All right, round two. Let's try this again. Richie Hicks Jr., sports podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I was in the middle of discussing the Aaron Hernandez series, which I completed yesterday on FX. Excellent show. Definitely check it out. But just sending y'all a warning. If you don't want any spoilers, do not watch this show because I'm going to spill the tea and tell you all about it. Also going to hit you with my Thursday night football prediction with the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. The story of Aaron Hernandez, very, very tragic. CTE is a real thing, and it was well documented by the Hall of Fame wide receiver Chris Carter after the investigation concluded that Mr. Hernandez, at the age of 27, had a great deal of brain damage playing this game of football. Moving forward, they came to the conclusion that if Mr. Hernandez didn't take his own life in jail, he probably would have not been able to take care of his own self probably 10 years down the road, which also very tragic. Bigger tragedy here is the wake of bodies left in his path. Ultimately, he took the life and was sentenced to life in prison, the life of his potential brother-in-law, Mr. Odin Lloyd, who was potentially going to be his future brother-in-law. He dated Cheyenne Jenkins' younger sister. But when I look at this series and see the direction that this series went in, it showed a lot of realness to the abuse that Aaron Hernandez received as a child, whether sexually or physically. Very tragic. I also think that the New England Patriots drafting Aaron Hernandez was actually poison for him, given that he had a lot of bad street connections in New England. The story started with Aaron Hernandez kind of playing a cat and mouse game with former friend turned foe, who was a local drug dealer, whom was witness to a double murder that Aaron Hernandez was actually acquitted from. He appeared in court in real life as well as in the series. He lost his eye in the shooting. He survived. But this was something that was well documented and was kind of the backbone of two characters playing their parts in this particular series. As I already stated, just very, very tragic situation that went down. The reason for that shooting was a fear that he was going to snitch, being privy to the double murder that occurred after going out to a nightclub. And this was silly. I mean, it was over a spilled drink. And one of the things with CTE is that, the anger is real. And, the damage done to one's brain does lead to a life of violence. And that is something that Chris Carter alluded to. That was a legitimate concern of his as he continues to age. Will I get violent? One of the classiest men in the history of the NFL, Mr. Junior Seau, took his own life and also was diagnosed with CTE. There have been movies on it. The NFL, NCAA alike have taken measures to make the game a lot safer, but it's not risk-free. Anybody that plays football knows that they go in with those very real risks of potentially having brain damage. My takeaways from this series is just that when you look at his exploits at Gainesville under head coach Urban Meyer, there was a lot that was allowed. Way too much that was tolerated. And ultimately, I think it came back to bite as he became an NFL player because he had a no-shits-given attitude where I believe that he was able to get away with pretty much anything under the sun as long as he was able to score on Saturday game days. But definitely check out this show. This show was, if I'm putting it on a 10 scale, definitely give it a solid 8, 8.5. But, tragic stuff. You never want to see those kind of families broken. So definitely an unfortunate situation. And, I really grieve for the families, all the families, because no winners in this kind of situation. Thursday Night Football, moving it along as I have to do an abbreviated show today. I've got the Philadelphia Eagles winning 34-27 over the Washington Commanders. I'm expecting a buck 20 out of Saquon Barkley, 60 receiving and 60 rushing, possibly anywhere between a buck 20, buck 50. Might do better than that. I think Saquon's going to have one big strike in the pass game that's going to really help the Eagles tonight. And I got Jaden Daniels committing 2 turnovers. I still think he's your NFL Rookie of the Year. He's having a phenomenal season. But a couple of more caveats about the Hernandez thing before I get out of here. College football icon, who was his teammate, quarterback Tim Tebow, definitely tried to intervene, kind of get him into more of a God-fearing aspect. And an interesting caveat is that when Aaron Hernandez committed suicide, he actually wrote John 3:16 on his forehead. So I think, past all the heinocity of his crimes and his murderous past, underneath, he did try to find some of his roots. Ultimately, the straw that broke the camel's back in this situation with Hernandez was some of his cellmates getting knowledge through Boston radio that Mr. Hernandez was living a double life, potentially at minimum being bisexual, more than likely homosexual. And I think the saddest thing of all is that this man lived a big lie for 27 years, and this man was not able to live his truth. And I also think that that was something that he had very guarded to himself, and something that he protected at all costs, even if it meant killing somebody. But definitely check that out. I'll be hitting you guys back in the near future with a new show, probably Friday or Saturday. Announcements to come. Have a great Thursday, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.